Let's talk now, though, to Venice Allen, who's a women's rights campaigner, of course, because the news still that we're suffering from right here is whether Labour really believes the Supreme Court verdict is right, and whether Labour really believes that actually actioning what the Supreme Court has said is going to be front and centre of their policy documents, because I'm not sure that it absolutely is. For example, what about hospitals? What about places where there's a bit of resistance? Venice, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. There's already signs that there are some public sector bodies, certainly including the NHS, who are going to try and kind of resist taking on board, if you like, this Supreme Court ruling. But I don't really see how legally they can do that. Can you?
No, I don't think. I think what we're seeing here is the sort of last grasp of this very delusional movement who will just literally say anything to carry on the myth that trans women are women. Yeah. And I think a lot of them are going to find it's a very expensive mistake if they truly pursue this. Yes,
because at the end of the day, a lot of it actually started in those kinds of places, didn't it? You know, a lot of the trans rights brigade started insisting on being given access to women's spaces like female-only wards and female toilets and all of that. And it's in those kinds of places where this whole sort of germinated, isn't it?
Absolutely. Stonewall went into these places and misled them on the law, basically. Yeah. And as Kemi said in the last Parliament, you know, the Stonewall law is not our law of this country. And now, thankfully, we have clarification of the actual law.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? And the BMA, for example, have issued a statement, I think, just the other day, saying that basically there's no necessity for a doctor to declare their gender, so that would make it impossible for a female patient to know if she was being treated by a female doctor if that was her wish.
Well, this is the problem, you know, as you just said it, gender, you know, we've now got clarification of sex in law, which means biological sex. Well, what a surprise. But now the word that's really interesting is, what does gender mean? It doesn't mean anything, and it's in various places in law, and we need to remove it, and we need to replace it with sex.
Right. And what about places like the London Marathon? London Marathon's taking place this weekend, right? Hugh Brasher, who's the race director, confirmed that there will be those taking part in the mass event who would be entitled to self-identify as male, female or non-binary, regardless of their birth sex. I don't know what the law would say about that. I don't know how that happens. I mean, is that not a breach of the law as well?
Well, it seems like it, doesn't it? And I would imagine that there'll be some kind of legal implications of that. However, saying that, I think we do need to give institutions a little bit of time to catch up. Yeah. I mean, this has just happened just before Easter, and suddenly we're now saying, you know, what's your policy? And that's absolutely right for us to say that. But we also do need to give these people time to write a new policy. However, I think this announcement from the marathon is really, you know, not reading the room at all. No. And it's put so many female athletes, so many female runners, you know, at a disadvantage. It's just not fair.
Well, this is the thing. And I mean, those people who have campaigned for equality, for proper equality in this, would say, well, OK, if you want people to be able to self-identify in a race, that's fine. Well, then they'll have to be racing under their own sort of category and their own banner. So, for example, if you're identifying as a female, despite being a male, you can't run as a female and be counted as a female and be given a time in a female race as a female.
Absolutely. I think this whole question of sport is actually really interesting, and one thing that doesn't really get said enough is that their whole argument is by taking these hormones, they are sort of disabled to the point that they're the same strength as women. Yeah. I think that's a really bad advertisement for gender treatments and surgeries and hormones. Yeah. Just anyway, it's like, okay, so you're basically saying that this is disabling and hurting these men. I just think it's awful.
Yeah, right. And similarly, it wouldn't even need to be people taking hormones, would it? Because according to Chris Brasher, or Hugh Brasher rather, who's also apparently decided not to go on X anymore because it's too horrible and it's like a gutter, so you kind of know where he's coming from. He's basically saying anybody who identifies as a woman, so you don't have to be taking hormones, you don't have to have had any surgery, you just need to say that you woke up this morning, you feel like a woman, like Shania Twain.
The only thing I'd say about that, Mike, is obviously I feel awful for the female athletes right now in this moment, the marathon runners. However, when these men win, it really does show everyone what this is all about. So, you know, in the same way that they try and shut us up, we say, no, speak, because what you're saying is so mad. We want everyone to hear it. It's like, okay, compete, win, take those medals. Let's see how the public like that.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, I was listening to a debate about Park Run, because Park Run, I think, took place, I think it was last weekend, a similar kind of argument being made.
Every week, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Oh, I don't know. I don't do a lot of running. Sorry, I'm not up to speed on that. No, I mean, apparently they were saying that the organisers of Park Run saying, oh, but it's not really a race. It's just a bit of fun. People turn out in a park and they run around, and everybody has a good time, and nobody really cares what gender you are or what sex you identify as. And of course, it turns out that people actually look at a time list at the end of the race. They see whether or not they came above somebody else. They like to know what their time was. Was it better than last year? It's a race. You can't pretend.
Different categories,
but this is the
juniors.
Yeah.
And it's like, if it's just a fun run, it doesn't matter. Why are you taking these stats? Why are you
Right.
why aren't you just running?
But this is the thing. This is what's punctuated this entire movement, it seems to me, a kind of denial of reality. You're trying to convince me that you're a woman. You're trying to convince me you're not running in a race. You're trying to convince me that you don't care about the time, and you're trying to convince me you don't care about which category you're in, and yet you want to be in the women's section.
I mean, it's completely mad. They say if trans women are women, trans truth is a lie.
Yeah. And Keir Starmer...
Everything is the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. And Keir Starmer can't be a lawyer because he didn't understand the law.
He's a trans lawyer.
Very good. I like that. I think that's probably the quote of the day so far. Keir Starmer's a trans lawyer. Brilliant. Venice Allen, thank you very much indeed. Women's rights campaigner. We might have to keep that and write it down.